Welcome back to Sideways Upward episode 2. And today we're going to talk about some different topics, not business related, but more, let's say, analytical or more abstract. And so I think it's healthy to have a balance between real world examples and abstract ideas. What do you think?
Yeah, today it's gonna be almost like philosophical, more personal growth side. Um, so, the purpose here is we're just trying to help people think outside of the box, right? Whether it's showing them real life examples
Yeah,
or discussing topics that we may have read somewhere. But today we're gonna see if maybe we can change the routine a bit and discuss something that we've come upon in one of the literature that we've read.
exactly. It's all about injecting little tiny primers into your life to help you on your road to success in personal development and your business as well.
So before we start, let's do our little jingle. Sideways upward.
Sideways upward. Brian, welcome back to the Sideways Upward show.
Thanks for
I don't
having
know why
me.
I'm saying welcome back when you're co-hosting, but uh,
I
yeah,
I I voluntarily came back.
yeah. Well, I hope you voluntarily keep coming back, or else I'll be talking to the globe. I don't think that'll
This is
lead to
our
conversation.
unofficial third guest,
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, he's got a nice shaped head.
Mr. Worldwide.
That's representing Miami.
Yeah.
So, Brian, I believe that one thing we should discuss is one of the main purposes of this channel, which is to better yourself through uncomfortable methods and exposure to ideas that may seem like they will actually damage you when actually they'll boost you up. And I got this idea from reading this book. It's called Antifragile by this guy, Nicholas Taleb. And the main point of that is basically a lot of people think that well, he says that there's no word for the opposite of fragile. So think of some
Wouldn't
way.
it be hardened or
He points that out. He says like robust or hardened would be what most people say, but that just means you're resistant to damage. You're not getting stronger with by being damaged.
okay?
So he's giving an example like you want to mail something to Russia, like a bunch of wine glasses, you'll put fragile on it, but opposite would be like please damage this box. So he comes up with this word anti-fragile.
Okay.
It basically is causing little stressors or little harm in yourself, and that's actually gonna boost you up and improve you. So think of like weightlifting. You're causing micro tears in your muscles, and in the end, you're actually getting stronger by doing so.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something like this desk and I just damage it or hit it, it's not gonna get stronger.
Right.
It's actually just gonna break down faster.
But the desk isn't fragile. Is
Well, it's pretty sturdy. It's pretty robust, but it's not
uh-huh.
anti-fragile. And one of his points is that humans, organisms in general, are
So
pretty
like
anti-fragile.
regenerative, right?
Yeah,
Like
up to a certain point. Like if you do some small stressors and stuff, there's gonna be a point where you're causing too much damage. If you drop the weight on your foot,
yeah.
that's not gonna help you in any way. So he points out this thing called hormesis in a medical terminology, where they expose you to like, little poisons,
Mm-hmm.
little bacteria, and that actually helps your immune system get stronger. For example, vaccines.
Yeah.
You're actually injecting that virus into yourself to strengthen your own system and make it more immune to the actual danger. So
It's the same thing with allergies. Like you expose yourself more to the allergens, you become a little bit more resistant to that allergy in general.
mhm,
So yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense.
and then so he's giving some examples like, you have a porcelain cup that's fragile. If you have a rubber ball that's robust or it's hard to damage and you throw it at the ground, it's going to bounce back fine. Anti-fragile would be like the Hydra from Hercules, the thing where he cuts off the head and two grow in its place.
Uh-huh.
That's the one he gave. So, uh, one thing I think you'll like and you have experience with is options in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
He says those are very anti-fragile. And this guy was actually an options trader
Okay.
So he made a bunch of money in the 90s. He bet against the banks in 2008, I believe. So he came out on top a lot with that. And so he's saying options are anti-fragile because they love volatility. You know, when earnings are coming up and the stock is trading, it's going a lot of trading volume,
Yeah.
it's actually rising in value, the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way that he's saying stocks are kind of fragile. You're going ebb and flow with the market, but options, if there's a sudden spike up or down, your option contract could actually gain in value.
But it can also lose in value a lot.
It could lose in value a lot. It's more sharper of a gain or loss. But he's saying that the guy whose whole strategy is to just play it safe and invest in the middle of the risk pattern, he's the one at most risk. The better way is what he calls a barbell strategy, where you put 90% of your funds into very safe, like bonds, treasury bonds, index funds, those things. And you put 10% into a very high risk asymmetric bet, like an option. Options,
Yeah.
they have unlimited upward potential and limited downside. The worst they can do is go to zero.
I would agree. You want to put 10%, 10% of your portfolio into options. The rest of the 90, I think, needs to be scattered. It shouldn't all be super safe ETFs, mutual funds, and
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff. It should be a combination of that and equities that are a little bit more higher growth,
Okay.
like smaller companies that have much greater upside potential, because then you'll have a portfolio that starts escalating. Obviously, you want your majority, maybe 50, 60%, to be in the safer options.
Mm.
And then you have the rest, the 30%, to put into those higher growth stocks, and then the 10% to put into options and play around with that. That's typically what I do with my portfolio, and it's been working pretty well so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah. I mean, you got to sprinkle some big bets in there
Yeah.
that will make up for maybe the small mistakes you make just investing in passive stocks, safe blue chip stocks, for example.
Yeah.
So I think he has a good point when it comes to that. And the downside is limited, upside is uncapped, basically. So it makes sense to make those bets. Otherwise, you're just gonna experience either slow creep up or slow creep down.
Okay.
And another interesting example he has is that if there's two brothers, one is I was telling you about this the other day. One is a taxi driver, and one is a banker. Who do you think would be the more safer person, or more, what's it?
The safer one would be the banker.
He would think so, but the way he describes is that the banker, he's doing the same thing for 20 years, and then one day the banking crisis happens, 2008. He's out of a job, and he has nowhere to go. No other bank will hire him because they're all going bankrupt. Or this guy doesn't like banks.
Hmm.
He's anti-bank.
Yeah, I could
Uh,
tell.
and then the taxi driver, his day to day is very random, sporadic, and let's say fragile. But on the long run, people are always going to need to use a taxi. People are always going to need to go somewhere else. So his job security is actually possibly higher on the long run than the banker.
Interesting. I mean, he has better potential to be able to pivot, to move quicker on his feet, as opposed to the banker who has a very safe job. And the moment anything happens, he'll
Exactly.
probably be out of a job for some time because he doesn't transition as quickly as possibly the
Exactly.
taxi driver would. So
Like he's
it makes
very
sense.
specialized. He's just doing that one thing. This taxi guy, he could be a driver anywhere in the world. Something happens in his city, he just moves to another city,
Oh,
and he's already qualified. One other example is he's differentiating between the individual and the collection, the collective. So restaurants, for example, a restaurant is very fragile because one bad review, one incident with, let's say, food poisoning or something health related, that business could go belly up. But the restaurant industry, they're actually improving over time because they're the ones that are bad or the ones that aren't good are going bankrupt and going away, and they're improving based on each other. They're analyzing what happened to that guy. Let's not do what that guy did. Let's
it's becoming a more competitive market where they're kind of analyzing what's going on
exactly,
within their.
exactly. They're
Okay,
making better food for cheaper, and they're competing in a way that we have to outdo that other competition basically.
that makes sense.
He's another thing with the banks. He says banks are very fragile because one massive, he calls them black swan events, like a black swan event
Yeah,
like
yeah.
2008, just Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all
Well,
those.
the pandemic was a black swan event.
Yeah, nobody saw that
Yeah.
coming. Nobody
So
saw that coming.
those happen pretty periodically.
Yeah, you can't predict those.
Yeah.
You just have to be braced for them, and some industries aren't. Aviation is one that he says is anti-fragile because one plane crash is causing the whole aviation industry to be safer, to learn from exactly what happened, investigate, and implement improvements to.
Well, I'm not sure if I would agree with that because taking the pandemic as an example, the aviation industry got hit hard because a lot of
Hmm.
people were not flying at that time. They were avoiding it.
Hmm.
So it was a black swan event that they didn't anticipate, and as a result, they lost a lot of these companies lost money
Hmm.
and resulted to some companies now possibly dealing with bankruptcy and
Yeah.
mergers and things. So I don't know if I would 100% agree that the aviation industry or any kind of industry that has to do with travel and tourism is 100% anti-fragile. Yeah,
Yeah.
the cruise lines also got heavily impacted during that time.
True.
So,
True. Yeah. I mean, a lot of industries got impacted by that. I think the only ones that came out were what, the vaccine industries. I mean, who can you think of any others that benefited from
at that
the
time,
pandemic?
no, it was mostly biotech companies and yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
that,
mean,
it
the whole
wasn't
world was focused on getting a solution
right.
for that. So, yeah. But in the end, I think his point is that within that industry, if one thing happens, it doesn't cause a chain reaction to the other things. Like the sacrifice of the individual causes the growth of
Yeah,
improvement of the collective.
and that happens too with in the Food and Drug Administration when it comes to new medicines or new vaccines. Whenever there's an issue that happens,
Yeah.
some kind of a recall, some kind of you know big big event that happens, it tends to kind of trickle around the industry. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of other companies learn from it. I'm in the biotech industry. I work for a medical device company, and whenever there are recalls with other companies, our
Mm-hmm.
company takes note. We learn about it. We're able to make sure we
Exactly.
don't commit a similar issue or mistake or have a similar kind of recall situation. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, there's certain industries that are better with that.
That's a good point, Brian. One thing I recommend the viewer is that I don't know where I heard this, if it popped in my mind randomly, but I've heard that the worst thing you can do is not learn from your own mistakes. The second best thing you can do is to learn from your mistakes, and the best thing you can do is learn from others' mistakes. So you avoid the harm to yourself. You're using their bad experience to prevent something to and improve yourself
Yeah,
in the same way.
yeah.
One other example he makes is forest fires. The governments or local municipalities, they're trying to control these forest fires. They're trying to prevent any fires from ever happening. But then that's what you get. That's what leads to Australia, California. You have these crazy out of control fires that nobody can put out whatsoever. He's saying his theory is the better thing to do is to let little controlled fires happen so that the most flammable trees and material burn up, and it's healthier in the long run for the whole system.
Interesting.
What do
So
you think about that?
intentionally controlling smaller fires that way,
Yeah.
the flammable trees and all that kind of go away, and you're left with the ones that are a little bit more resistant.
Yeah, yeah. More
Interesting.
fireproof or flame
I
resistant.
did not know that there was fireproof trees to begin
Not
with.
fire resistant, or there's material that burns easier than other material, let's say.
Interesting.
And by letting those controlled fires happen, you're letting the easily burn material to burn up and not cause risk to everything else.
Yeah, but wouldn't like training these people more, having them do more routine kind of drills and things like that for these fires, wouldn't that also prevent,
Yeah.
like, be better at preventing these bigger escalations?
Yeah, I mean, you can train people as much as you want, but if you have a big enough fire, you can see, we've seen in the news, it's almost impossible to put out. You have to let it die out on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, on the individual level, you could relate that to yourself. For example, very popular nowadays to do cold plunges. You're shocking your body to awaken it and renew faster. And I hear there's skin benefits and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think his point is finding ways to give little shocks to your system to stimulate it and not let it atrophy.
Mm-hmm.
He has a funny example. He's like, if a snake popped out on my keyboard and scared me, that would be beneficial to me as long as the snake doesn't bite me and kill me, of course. Or like a vampire shows up into his room and just scares him. He's actually getting a little boost from that because he's more aware of surroundings and what have you.
Yeah.
Uh, it goes against common belief, but
Yeah, it's almost like a contrarian view to
yeah,
society, like thinking not what people would normally think, but the other kind of having
exactly. That's
that
why it ties
opposite
into
view.
this show right here.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And another point, he talks about optionality. Having as many options as possible will be the best. If you have just one friend or something and you stop being friends, then you have no friends. But if you have multiple friends in different levels of society or different niches, and you're like, you have your friend that you go to the gym with, one that you invest with, one that you go traveling with, that thing, or skills, just adding to your skill set over time, that's going to cause you to be more useful. And if one of them ends up being very lucrative for you, maybe you learn the guitar, you start.
This guy sounds like he's all over the place.
He's pretty, yeah. It's hard to pin down this guy,
Yeah.
but he's pretty interesting. He says that after a long trip, don't go to sleep, just go to the gym, do some deadlifts. I think he's pretty wacky, but I think I like the concept.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what he's getting at. Like, he wants you to become a better version of yourself by basically shocking your system in some way to be able
Yeah,
to react to things better in the future. I agree with that. And
up to a certain limit, it makes
up to a
sense.
certain limit, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good point. I think some of the points he makes I would question a little bit, but for the most part, the general idea I think I agree with.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I would much rather be that guy who's a little more spontaneous, who's quicker on his feet, than to be the guy who's basically doing a monotonous routine day after day. The moment that routine goes wrong,
Yeah.
you end up having like a bit of a panic, right? You don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
So I'd rather I am that guy who's a little bit more spontaneous with what I do, and I'm able to think quicker on my feet and pivot much quicker as a result, as
Exactly.
opposed to a guy who has a set schedule every single day, and if things don't go his way, well then,
Hmm.
sometimes I could ruin everything else.
It's like with income streams. If you have just one stream, which is your main job, and you get let go, you're in deep trouble. If you have multiple income streams where you have some investments,
So
you
you're
have
saying
some
diversification is key.
diversification, optionality, basically, like maximize your options.
I just kind of don't agree with the fact that you need to do that with everything in your life. Like
Yeah.
like him mentioning that you need to have a friend for everything, I don't agree with that.
Hmm.
Because I think it's better to have a closer, smaller group of friends that because they say that you are who you surround yourself with.
Hmm.
So if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of people that have all these diverse personalities and things, then you're just kind of always going to be all over the place and not really going to be
Hmm.
like um, a more robust person or at least growing. So
Yeah.
I think some of his points make sense. I think some other ones I might question a little bit, um, but yeah, overall I think it's a good point, and I think the viewers should really you know learn from this and try to do things differently, at least not what you're normally used to. Um,
Exactly. It's all about challenging yourself. With little shocks, they'll boost you in the long run. Another point he makes is having skin in the game. So you only learn when you have a consequence for
yeah.
what you're doing.
Hmm.
For example, if you're tutoring a student, if you don't know what you're talking about, you're not gonna be successful. He's gonna stop taking lessons from you. And by doing that and having some skin in the game, you're actually learning a lot yourself. I always believe that the best way to learn something is to teach it.
Yeah, I
So,
agree. I
in
agree with that.
preparing for this podcast, I learned more than reading from the book because I really dive deep into the ideas and examples.
Yeah. No,
So
I agree with that
he,
100%.
he says, don't ever trust a chef that won't eat his own cooking.
That's a good point.
Yeah, yeah. And then, so in summary, basically, the hormesis, it's like lifting weights. We're not telling you to drop a weight on your foot and that will make your foot grow stronger, of course. It's all about controlled shocks and doing these stressors that it's not gonna reach a certain point where it's gonna cause damage. You want to come back from the stress stronger than before.
It's like these micro stresses that you're applying on yourself to be able to grow a little tougher in any
Exactly.
area.
Like weightlifting,
Yeah,
example, or running. You're applying stress to your body, but you end up running stronger, running for farther distances
yeah.
over time. So one challenge I'll give the viewer is to lean into one safe discomfort, find a discomfort, but a safe one. For example, strike up a conversation randomly with someone on the street, or ask your boss for a raise. The worst thing they can say is no, right?
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point. I think one of the bigger things that people tend to have a challenge with is fear of rejection. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever you approach somebody just that you don't know, whether it be in a flirty way or just trying to be friendly or whatever it is, a lot of people tend to back out of those situations because of a fear of rejection. But if you do it more often, you start building this confidence.
Yeah,
And that's another example of this anti-fragile approach where if you do it enough, you become confident enough that it no longer phases you and you're able to do it
exactly.
more often and become better at it, at socializing.
Exactly. You're
Yeah.
not breaking down from that pain of that rejection. It's actually building you up, and you're
Right.
seeing, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought.
Right.
Another tip I have is to cut out bad things in your life that are causing you harm. One habit I have is biting my fingernails. That's one thing that's not anti-fragile. That's just causing damage to myself. So
Actually, I do the same, by the way. I also bite my fingernails. I've been doing it my whole life. But as a matter of fact, because of it, you actually build up, funny enough, you're actually building up your immune system because a lot of the bacteria that gets trapped within your fingernails and that you're constantly kind of like microdosing into your body, you end up building like a stronger immune system.
yeah,
I actually have a really strong immune system. I rarely ever get sick and all, and I'm pretty sure I attribute it to me having bitten my
just cut
fingernails.
out the middleman and lick the
Uh-huh.
dirt outside.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll start eating worms.
Yeah. There's a George Carlin skit. He's saying, like, when I was young, I was swimming in the Hudson River and it was just raw sewage in there and none of us ever got sick. He's like, but these kids nowadays, they're spraying them with alcohol spray and like wiping them down with Purell.
Yeah.
And now the kids are getting sick all the time with these viruses. He's
And
like,
now they have all this antibacterial like hand sanitizer everywhere after the pandemic. So like
yeah.
people take those like multiple times a day.
I do think that you can go overboard with that.
Yeah.
And sanitizing everything in your life is gonna prime you for a black swan event
You know,
where,
a good example of that is that, when I was younger, my mom was a clean freak. She would clean
Mhm.
her entire house, like no dust, no anything, right?
Yeah,
Now, as I'm older, I'm actually allergic to dust. So whenever my
yeah,
home gets too dusty, I tend to start getting a stuffy nose and like
more
allergies and all
sensitive
more sensitive. And it's because I didn't grow up
with that
with that
exposure.
exposure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've always said like you should let your kids play in the backyard with a stick and play in the mud and get dirty and all that. Don't put them in a safe little bubble.
Yeah.
I know you mean good for them. You mean well for them, but they need some
Some exposure to
they need some
that bacteria.
stressors to
Yeah.
get anti-fragile.
Yeah.
So, but I think the nail biting thing, I mean, there's ways to expose yourself to germs. There's other ways that I
Yeah.
think could be better. And then so I think that's a good challenge for you all for the week. Subtract one fragility, lean into one safe discomfort, and add one option because the optionality, you're right that spreading yourself too broadly is also not good, but I think sometimes there's areas of our life where having more options than we have now would be of benefit.
I agree with that.
Who doesn't want another income stream, for example?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. You should have diversification in certain parts of your life.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Especially as it pertains to finances.
Yeah. What's one income stream that you think would be good to add to your own life?
To my own life, I would like to do a little bit more of a side hustle. Do my own thing on the side because I have my full-time job. I have my
Hmm.
investments,
Hmm.
but I don't necessarily have my own business
Hmm.
where I'm getting an income based on, which is more merit based on how hard I work how much work I put into it, and the more
Yeah.
I can grow something like that, the bigger it can become. So I think that's the next step is having something like that because I have my investments, and yes, I have some investments that generate me passive income, such as my real estate investments and all of that, but I don't have a proper business that I can grow
Hmm.
or scale. And the more work I put into it, the bigger it can get. So I kind
Exactly.
of want to have that as well. So that's kind of the next step is having that income stream as well.
Exactly. Because the 9 to 5, it's fixed.
Yeah, that's
You
not
may get
changing.
some bonuses here and there, but
Yeah,
it's capped.
right,
Real estate's also capped. You can't squeeze more out of the same thing.
correct.
But owning your own business, you could. It's like
It's
anti-fragile.
limitless. Yeah,
It's there's this much downside and infinite upside.
correct. Yeah.
It's kind of like options.
Hmm.
Options are the same thing. Limited downside, infinite upside.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is.
As long as you don't run out of money.
Yeah, I feel like you have less control though with options, as opposed to your own business. You'll have more control over its success. Versus
Hmm.
with options, there is a lot of luck that goes into it. Like you can't predict what's going to happen in the stock market, but you can have a good inclination as to what might happen. Whereas if you have your own business, you put work into it, you're going to reap the benefits of the work you put into it. If you don't put work into it, you're not going to reap the benefits. So it's directly related to how much work you put into it. It's more of a meritocracy versus with options, it's more, I hate to say it's more gambling.
Hmm.
So, you know, it, yeah, it's a little different, but that is the next stream
Yeah.
I'm gonna add to my.
Well, businesses could be affected by external factors too.
Yeah, they can. Yeah,
Like our business being affected by tariffs, for example. A lot of businesses all over the states.
they can. But like you said, if you were anti-fragile, you can pivot very quickly, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So that's the difference. Whereas with options, you really like you don't. Sometimes you're just stuck. You make your move, you make your bet. If it doesn't pan out, you kind of have to live with the consequences.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's why having extra options is more like options as a business.
yeah,
For example, if you had factories all over the world, you're a lot more anti-fragile than somebody that has a factory in China
yeah.
only.
That's true.
So I think if when you come up with your business, make sure it has lots of options
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to just lean on one source.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I do want to bring up one more point. I think what we talked about sounds like Stoicism to me. So Stoicism in the sense that, um, somebody who doesn't let their emotions get the best of them. Sometimes you hear the
Hmm.
term emotional intelligence get thrown around.
Hmm.
Somebody who really knows how to control their emotions in tough times, in tough situations. Um, for example, like if somebody has gone through a lot of small traumas in their life,
Yeah.
they learn to kind of deal with these events that come their way, these newer events, in a different way. They don't let it affect them as much anymore.
Hmm.
As opposed to someone who's not exposed to these traumas, they tend to have a random event come their way and it affects them a little bit more. They start, you know,
Breaks them down
it kind of
completely.
breaks them down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this whole topic kind of brought that into my mind. I think
Yeah, I think
makes sense.
if you were to tell Taleb that, he would say that's maybe it's kind of more on the robust side. You're, for example, a pilot.
Hmm.
I'm doing my aviation training, and let's say you're doing the simulator a bunch of times.
Hmm.
That may prepare you for an actual flight, for example, where you're more maintaining your
But
level-headedness.
but what if instead? But what if in the simulator you're actually simulating the tougher events, the edge cases, where
Hmm.
like something goes wrong, and if you're doing that more often, then you're gonna get more uh, hardened and trained to take on those
Exactly.
events better, right?
Exactly. They say smooth seas never made a good sailor.
Right.
So the best sailors are the ones that they've had the roughest waves,
Yeah.
roughest oceans. Today we were flying and there was like crosswinds, there was tailwinds, there was actually variable winds where it was coming from all over. And the instructor was like, "This is actually really good practice.
Yeah.
This is if it's just calm skies all the time, you're not gonna know what to do in an actual situation.
And you've had rough landings too before that you've had to navigate through as
Yeah,
well. So,
yeah. But
um,
they say any landing you walk away from is a good landing, and if the plane is still flyable after, it's a great landing. So I think, yeah, I mean, Stoicism. That's getting very popular nowadays. People are always bringing it up. It's an ancient philosophy,
yeah.
but it's something that stood the test of time. And this Taleb guy actually says things that stand the test of time will continue standing. For example,
I mean,
chess is a
yeah.
game that's been played for millenniums, and
I mean, you look at the best leaders in history, and all of them were very stoic.
yeah,
They don't let big events affect them and their moods, right?
hmm,
They kind of like keep a steady hand, and they're able to make decisions in tough times.
for sure.
So that's yeah.
For sure. Imagine a pilot and there's choppy winds and he's got a full plane and then he starts freaking out and
Yeah,
panicking.
no, that'll be
That's
this.
not going to lead to anything,
That
bro.
reminds me of the movie Airplane, where where
He's
the
just sweating bullets.
yeah. He's like panicking, sweating bullets.
He's having Vietnam
Uh-huh.
flashbacks and stuff.
He has a button that says "Don't panic," and then it catches on fire. He's like, "Panic,
Time to
panic."
panic. Yeah, no, you don't want that in your internal framework.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we can wrap this episode up.
Yeah.
So we have our viewer challenges. And if anyone watches this and wants to share what they dismissed as a fragility and add into their life as a safe discomfort, we're open to hearing your comments. And thank
Yep.
you for joining me, Brian.
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you to the viewers
Yeah,
for watching this.
catch you guys next time.